In this episode, Nelson Nash and I discuss life, history, and economics. Welcome to the Banking with Life podcast. I'm your host, James Neathery, and I'm excited as I can be that you're here, and I'm even a little bit more excited, I got to be honest, that we have Nelson Nash here today as a guest. He's a dear friend, mentor, and just literally elated to have him. Good morning, Nelson. How are you?
Good morning.
Yeah. Listen, really, it is unscripted. You know, I want to have just a conversation with my dear friend Nelson, and but I do want to know. You know, I want you to have the opportunity to tell us a little bit about yourself to the people that may be listening who may not have had the opportunity to meet you, and may not have. They just don't know who you are and what you've done, right?
Well, maybe they're fortunate.
So, maybe they have an opportunity.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to ask questions because I might say the wrong thing.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I need guidance.
No, I understand. The what I find quite often in the big wide world of pushing back the frontiers of ignorance, or expanding the frontiers of knowledge, depending on a positive outlook or a negative outlook, right?
Yep.
You know, people's understanding of life insurance, I frame it, I believe I heard you say it, where most people's understanding of life insurance is based on someone else's misconception.
Oh, heavens, yes, by all means. Now, that took a radical change, really, about 75 years ago or somewhere like that. It began to change, but the big change was about, I'd say 70 years ago it changed big time. Into World War II.
It changed from a kind of a, historically people saved money in life insurance.
Yeah, sure did. Yeah. So life insurance has been around a long time and they use it and so forth. But let's see, a thought process changed big time after World War II. All the military folks are getting off active duty. And the socialists who were in charge at that time said, that's going to ruin the economy. We can't absorb all those folks that need jobs all at one time. So we got to give them something to do so that they'll transition into the general population over a period of time and kind of graceful. And so let's send them to college. So not only that, we'll increase the intellectual capital of this country and we'll kill two birds with one stone. But what actually happened was quite different. The doggone colleges became diploma mills. And as a result of today, the cost of college diploma has gone out of sight and the quality has gone down the hill. But worse than all that, James, is the nonsense that's been put in their brains. I think that that phenomenon was the advent of creating the what I call Harvard MBA syndrome. We have more financial geniuses today than all of civilization put together, and they really don't know beans. But that's just the heck of it. It goes back to the general problem. The basic problem with human beings is that they are egocentric big time, and they're also lazy at the same time also. So,
yeah, be nice, sir.
But other than that, it's a good situation. Yeah, but you do have some great folks out there, whatnot. All during this time, it's been my great fortune to meet fantastic people that are well educated that do not have diplomas. you know full well that Leonard Read was my personal friend and mentor, and without question, he was the most educated man I ever met in my life. He had no degrees from anywhere. Neither did Henry Hazlitt, his co-founder, and neither did Herbert Spencer in England years before that. But their access to great information was very limited compared to what we have today. The tragedy is that today we have access to stuff that's unbelievable, really. But we've got problems with direction. You ever examine the word vector? VCTOR?
I have in our conversations in the past.
Yeah, all right. A vector is a force in a direction. Without both qualities, you don't have a vector. And you know, I'm an airplane driver. Let's use that as an example. So here's the airline captain on a trip, comes on the intercom and tells the people, I have to report something to you. That I have good news and the bad news. Says, good news is that we're making good time, but the bad news is we've lost our course. And so that's what I think has happened today, big time, is they lost their course.
Yeah, welcome to America, right?
Yeah, well, the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, did Paul Perot, was he educated? Did he have any degrees?
Paul was a theologian. Yeah. He was a good friend also, but I never spent all that much time with him compared with Leonard and with Henry Hazlitt. But I did know Paul very well. He had relatives that lived in Atlanta. And so quite often when Leonard would come down to do his thing with us, when I invited him, he would bring Paul, and always enjoyed him very much. And Leonard leaned on Paul pretty heavily. I remember one of the stories that Leonard had about Leonard had written an article of some sort, and this labor union leader had read it and was very, very antagonistic toward Leonard as a result of it, and wrote him a real mean letter, and he couldn't even spell some of the words right and so forth. And Leonard did not trust himself to answer the guy's letter. He gave it to Paul and says, Paul, write me a response as if you were writing the Lord. And so he did. Well, some fairly short time after that, the labor leader apologized and so forth. And Leonard sent him some more stuff to read. And then more time passed, and the guy says, this is great. Send me anything that you think that I need to read along with invoice. And by this time, the labor union leader had quit his job and so forth. He ended up being quite a supporter of Leonard and of FEE. And he had Leonard to come to lecture to groups that he put together also. And anyway, he ended up being a great supporter for FEE. And one of the times that he had invited Leonard, they were going back to the airport for Leonard to go home. And they were reminiscing about how they first got together and the rocky start that they had at the beginning, and how the change had taken place. And Leonard asked him, do you know what I did to you? He says, no, but I'd like to know. And Leonard took his airplane ticket and put it against the window of the car and was holding it with his finger. He says, what happens how does the paper stay attached to the window? He said, well, the compression between your finger and the web and the window. And Leonard moved his finger and the paper fell. He says, that's what I did to you. I didn't push back. Yeah, what a teacher.
Yeah, that's a lesson to be learned. You know, that guy would be considered a modern day troll, but it had a great outcome, right?
Oh yeah, no question. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, with the change in thinking after World War II, I mean, that always reminds me of Paul Perot and his little pamphlet
Yeah.
you brought back into publication, you know, the pension.
Right.
And I think the thinking really just almost snowballed, you know, from that. It's, well, we save money here. Life insurance and mutual funds got their existence in the late 30s, and they've come on like gangbusters. Then the socialist idea of, you know, there's not enough jobs to go around. You can't leave these soldier boys to their own devices, you know, because they might not be creative, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's like, what a concept.
Well, as a result of all that, you know, Walter Williams says half the kids in college should not be there today. It's a total waste, but that's the mindset out there that everybody needs a college degree. Well, they're not capable of it. And so they get started and they drop out and whatnot. And so here's all this infernal indebtedness, and it just won't work at all. But the whole problem is top-down thinking is what it is.
Yeah, it's almost, you know, it has created a whole new bubble, you know, this education loans and indebtedness, and it's become a paper mill on a couple of levels. You know, the universities are paper mills with their degrees and diplomas, but it's also a paper mill for loans and digits.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Into the economy. So, I mean, it really has had several effects, you know, most of them probably unintended consequences. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you could make a real case for that unintended consequences out there that there's good intentions, but good intentions won't do the job. To the contrary, I think good intentions have created more problems than anything else out there when you really look at it deeply.
Yeah. Almost, we talk about it all the time around my office that, you know, as soon as a man stands up and says he knows what's better or best for everyone else, you know, it's like the lights go off right there.
Yeah.
And then when an individual wants to run for office, you know, I think there's something psychologically wrong with them. But that's just me talking out loud. Right. All right. Well, listen, I would like to kind of, I'd like to talk about rates and it's just a continuation though of the way people think, right? Everybody in the financial world is chasing rates of returns. The financial industry is, you know, creating products really at the end of the day. And promoting rates of return that may or may not happen and may or may not be realistic, but it's a deeply ingrained pattern in our thinking as a society to chase these rates of return when it comes to money.
Yeah.
And no matter what they've experienced and whether they've lost money in the market or whatever, you know, my point is this, that the thinking is entrenched about rates of return, even though they don't experience them over and over and over. You know, the industry, the financial industry says, oh, you can expect this kind of rate of return. And even though they don't experience those rates of returns, they're still chasing these phantom rates of returns. And and it has to do with their thinking.
Yes, that's the whole problem right there. The thinking. They don't think. That's just it. They knee-jerk reaction, and so they reflect from one place to the other. Well, when they flip from one place to the other, they stop earning whatever they were in the old place, and now they think they're earning someplace here, and it just doesn't work at all. There's everything is really so simple out there, but people like to listen to nonsense for some reason or another. They're particularly attracted to nonsense, but that's been this story of mankind since day one, though. So that's nothing new.
Same old, samey.
Yeah,
Right.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you see going on out there in the big wide world as far as the the financial industry, the insurance industry, and what do you see? You talk to an awful lot of people, an awful lot of people, economists, just ordinary people. What's your take, Nelson, on what's going on in the financial world?
Well, it's nothing that's all that attractive because people are being deceived. The easiest thing in the world to do is okay, let's put it this way. Maybe this will help. Back when I first wrote my book, Becoming Your Own Banker, about 18 months later, there was this marketer that called on me. I didn't know him and he didn't know me, but somehow or another he had come across my book as a result of a contact of some sort or another. And anyway, I had several sessions with him over several months, and he told me finally, I can make you very wealthy, but you got to learn to compromise some of your principles. You got to learn to tell half-truths. If you'll tell half-truth, people will throw money at you, and it's very evident that that's true. Gosh, all you got to do is just look at what goes on out there, that what the quote market has to offer as far as ideas. Bob Murphy sent me something just the last few days, some advertisement about several books that would help you get rich, whatever. And of course, there was Dave Ramsey there, and there was what's her name? The woman, doggone it. Anyway. And this is not true at all. People like to believe lies. That's just all there is to it. And again, rates is not it. Volume is. Because I'm a forester by education, and you know how a tree grows. It grows in rings and so forth. Well, if you'll notice that the larger the rings get in the tree, the rate decreases, but the volume increases. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you see, all the growth is on top of what was there in the past. And so I can demonstrate that with this state farm policy that my brother sold me back in 1959. If you look at the paperwork that I have of the last several years, the rate of growth, has been slightly decreasing, but the volume has been going up significantly because it works. Compound interest works exactly the same way.
I love I can't remember what airport it's in. Maybe it's in Birmingham, Atlanta, but there's a 300 or 400 year old slice of a tree.
Right? Yeah.
And it's in the airport, and it has markings on rings,
right.
of what historically took place, and when you back up, and this thing's probably 12 foot, probably about 36 foot in circumference. When you back up and look at that, it's mighty impressive.
Sure.
very impressive. And I think about that every time I walk by there, and I take a selfie and
Uh-huh.
keep it on my phone. I don't publish it, but I think about you and the tree you cut down at your property
Yeah.
several years ago, to make exactly that point.
Right.
Rate versus volume. But going back to, if I could say here, you'll remember this, I think, that I went into the financial world about 1991, and I went to work with a company that A.L. Williams was a regional manager of, right?
Yeah.
Fortune 100 company. I bought into the idea of buy term and invest the difference. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
this company, had a family of mutual funds. At the
Yeah.
time, they had an 8.5% front end load. That's how long ago that was, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Right.
All right. So we used to use, or people in the office, they had a book that they try to get people to read and what have you. And then one chapter out of that book, somebody made into a pamphlet, and these advisors, would use it trying to promote the idea of buying term and investing the difference. And okay, so I didn't really use them, but I heard of a lady, Vanita Van Capsel, right? And so here we are, uh, 30, 30 years later. I buy a lot of books. I read a lot of books. And Ryan Griggs and I are doing some work on the history of life insurance, right? And I bought this pamphlet off of eBay
Yeah.
a week or two ago, and I haven't opened it yet, but I know what's in there.
Huh.
My whole point is, here's this, financial talking head at the time promoting term insurance and then investing the difference because that whole life permanent life insurance had such a high premium. You would do so much better buying the term and putting the other to an investment. And nobody ever talks about the discipline that's required in that concept, which 80% of the people don't have. I digress. um, while I'm kicking around searching for this book and reading up on this book, this pamphlet, um, and now she's deceased, so I don't want to disparage her.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the idea and the thought, right? But the fact is, all those side investments she was promoting,
Yeah.
they all imploded, went bankrupt,
Yeah. No kidding.
lawsuit after lawsuit, right?
Yeah.
It's same stuff over and over and over.
Well, you see, James, all this goes back to a fairy tale of years ago about the pot of gold being at the end of the rainbow. All right. Now, everybody's seen rainbows, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right. And so it starts over here and it goes around like so. Well, I'm an airplane driver. And here I am years ago with family, and we were in a trip to Hawaii, and I was making a flight between the islands the first time, and so forth. Okay, we're flying along, and here's a rainbow, but when you're in an airplane and you look at the rainbow, it's a total circle. Yeah. And your airplane is in the middle. So, when you analyze the rainbow there, you meet yourself coming.
You didn't even see the leprechaun.
but people like to believe that sort of stuff. But that's just life. See, all the great things is that little video that you produced here several years ago called Baking with Life. I think there's about 13 personalities on that thing, including yours truly and you. But I think number 3 in the sequence is Paul Cleveland. And Paul Cleveland is pointing out that money is not wealth, that wealth is goods and services. Money is the medium of exchange whereby we acquire wealth. Well, so here's this story of the Black community in Tulsa, Oklahoma, back in 1921, that was rather wealthy. It was known as the Black Wall Street of America. Well, the biggest race riot that ever occurred, biggest race riot in America that ever occurred was there. Over 300 people were killed. Well, people fixate on the tragedy of what happened there, and rightly so, but they don't ever get around to talking about what caused it. And so this goes with this sentence that I put together here not too many months ago. When there's too much emphasis placed on the how of an activity, it's easy to lose the why. And the why is the most important thing of all. Well, why? How? Why did this race riot take place? Please. Okay. Well, there's something back there called 10 Commandments in the Bible. And number 10, what is that one? Thou shalt not covet. Yep. Leonard wrote about this a long time ago, that's probably the most insidious one of all, because out of it goes all the other examples of don't do things, so forth. Okay, so imagine this. Here is this rich black community, and here's this poor white trash watching these rich black folks. Well, does the word envy come to mind in your mind?
Oh, yeah.
Well, have you ever seen an example where the have-nots want to build themselves up? No, they will tear the other folks down. That's the easiest way. All right, that's the story of mankind. Well, there are very few places that a black person could go to a public restroom in Tulsa, Oklahoma at that time. One was on the 7th floor of a high-rise building. Now, back in 1921, James, we didn't have push-button elevators. We had elevator operators. Well, tell me, what do you think the pay scale of an elevator operator is? Good grief, it takes no talent at all to do it. So who would be a good candidate for such a thing? Well, again, male-dominated society back in those days compared with today. Can you imagine a little white girl being a elevator operator?
No.
All right, the black guy gets on the elevator at floor 1, and the restroom is on floor 7. And what happened between floor 1 and floor 7, nobody really knows. But I can pretty well see it. Yeah, here is a chance to bring those rich folks, black folks down. So when they got the 7th floor, she was screaming. Well, all right, let's put those folks in their place. And so that precipitated that race riot. And that's bad. Over 300 people were killed. They used American airplanes to bomb the place. Right. And if you see pictures of the 50 blocks there that it looked like Syria, good grief. Well, nobody talks about how did those guys get wealthy. Well, the truth was that money turned over 30 to 100 times before it ever left the community. Every transaction, wealth was increased. All right, now I'll have to go back to my Austrian background here to point out that there is real money out there today. But most of the money that we have is fiat money, is bogus. It has no backing at all. But both these monies are in circulation, and people can't tell the difference. But you can track it if you'll think the thing through. Let's go back to the black community, okay? Now, here's one black guy in the community that has something that he'd like to sell. And here's another black guy that would like to buy that. Okay, now the one that's buying, he's going to have to give the guy that's transferring the item of the wealth item, the good. What's he going to give him? He's going to give him a token for something that he performed, a good or a service. It's called money. That's real money. That coin or paper or whatever it might be, it doesn't matter. It is a token of the fact that I performed a service or I produced a good for someone, and this person gave me this token as evidence of it. It's real money. All right, now the guy that sold something, now he's got that token. Well, he sees something out there that he could buy and so forth. And so money never left the community 30 to 100 times. It was continuously building wealth, goods, and services. But people don't think this way, do they?
Not at all.
Okay. Now,
I'm just envisioning all that wealth pile up within that community.
Contrast that with the fact that, yours truly has only failed one course in his life, and that was economics for CLU studies. People in this world love to have letters behind their names. Evidence that they've gone through some discipline of some sort, okay? Well, you get in the life insurance business and you got to become a chartered life underwriter, okay? All right, now the time I went through it, it was 2 years and there were 10 parts to it. And one part was economics. And of all things, the CLU curriculum the book was by Paul Samuelson, borderline communist. If you extend Paul Samuelson's thinking to its ultimate conclusion, the life insurance business would cease to exist. Good Lord, they don't have life insurance in Russia, heavens above. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, so here I am studying for that course, and it's on a Sunday afternoon, and nobody's at home, anything like that. Well, I read here that Paul Samuelson says the government taxes the economy $10 billion. Now that's money coming into to the government. The government's going to spend that money. Now that when they spend that money, it'll turn over 3 times. And so that will stimulate the economy. Therefore, that's a good idea. Well, so on the final exam, I said, yeah, that's true. This is also true. Al Capone, the notorious gangster, he steals $10 billion from the American public. And he's going to spend it too. That'll turn over 3 times, and so that stimulated the economy. Therefore, we should have more Al Capones. Now, they didn't see any sense in humor at that at all and flunked me. Well, I took the course over and gave them their answer, and they gave me a diploma. Now, 8.5 years ago, we downsized where we live, and I found that diploma. It was in a closet facing the wall. Well, I was going to throw it in the ash can because that's about how much I have for it. But David, my son-in-law, said, oh, no, keep it. So I hung it in my garage. So if you want to see my diploma, you got to come look in my garage.
No, thank you. I've seen
it. Well, you see, that's the thing that's going on out there. That that's what happened to the whole educational community, that we have people out there with diplomas that can't even read the dang diploma. Mm-hmm. One of my clients years ago was a veterinarian. his wife had a separate business, and one of her key employees was getting his master's degree at UAB here in Birmingham. And Rick said, the guy can't write a coherent paragraph, but that's what's going on.
Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed the content, leave us a like or a thumbs up, share us with your friends, give us some feedback, and we'll see you next time.